Welcome, boys and girls. This is my spooky story time for you. I'm your host, Laura Graves. I'll be reading you three urban legends that may or may not be true. One of them for sure is true, and we'll include a picture at the end of the story.
Our first story is called The Coffin of Robert Batts. Robert was a young Englishman who always insisted on being buried in his ancestors' vault. On August 12, 1680, he accidentally drowned at the age of 23. Despite his earlier instructions, he was buried in the church courtyard instead. That night, his sister had a dream that featured Robert saying how upset he was that he was not in the family vault. In the following morning, Robert's coffin was found dug up, and his body was undisturbed. The coffin itself was in perfect condition. After it was reburied, his coffin was outside his grave 2 more times. Before his sister would tell her family about the dreams, and now Robert lays to rest in his family vault. Clown statue. A few years ago, there was a couple who had a nice big house with 2 children, a boy and a girl. After taking care of the kids all week, the mother and father decided they would call a babysitter. When she got to the house, the parents told her to fix the kids' supper and then to put them to bed. They also told her that she can watch TV and help herself to anything in the fridge. The mother asked for her to watch the TV upstairs in their bedroom instead of downstairs because the kids have been recently having nightmares, and if they started crying, that way she would be able to get to them quicker. The babysitter agreed, and then the parents left for dinner. After the girl fed the boy and girl, she gave them a story and then tucked them into bed, turning off the lights, and went to go watch TV. When the babysitter walked into the parents' bedroom, she noticed there was a creepy-looking statue standing in the corner of the room. She tried to ignore it, but it was so eerie and disturbing that it just sent chills down her spine. It felt like it was staring at her. As time began to pass, the babysitter started to feel more uneasy about the clown statue. When she glanced at it, she swore it moved. After a while, the clown statue began to freak her out so much that she just couldn't contain herself anymore, so she went downstairs and she called the parents. When they answered, she told them that everything was fine and the kids were asleep, but she wanted to know if it was okay if she could watch TV downstairs. When they told her that it was okay, they also asked why. She told them that she didn't feel comfortable with the clown statue in the room. One of the parents asked, "Clown statue?" When the girl replied, she said, "Yes, the clown statue in your bedroom freaks me out." The phone went silent, and the father came onto the phone and he said, "Listen to me very carefully. Take the children and get out of the house. We will call the police." When the girl asked what was wrong, the father replied with, "We don't have a clown statue." The girl does as she's told, and she drops the phone, runs upstairs, and grabs the kids, one under each arm, rushing outside the front door, standing on the sidewalk. When she comforts the kids, she looks up at the bedroom, and peeking through a gap in the curtains was a white painted face of a clown. It stared at her for a moment, and then it slowly sank back into the darkness. Within minutes, the police arrived and cautiously entered the house. In the upstairs bedroom, they found a man dressed in a clown suit. When they arrested him, they also found a knife. The clown turned out to be a mentally disturbed midget who was convicted murderer and cold-blood killer. The evil man had been stalking the family for months, lurking in their attic during the daytime and coming out at night, sneaking around the house. For weeks, the children have been complaining about a clown statue that stood in their room and watched them sleep, but the parents just dismissed it as nightmares. The Bunny Man legend. In the early 20th century, deep in the woods that divided the town of Clifton from Fairfax Station, there was an asylum for the insane. At some point, the asylum closed and the residents were piled into a bus bound for Lorton Prison. On the way there, the bus swerved and crashed. Many of the convicts escaped, but were caught except for one, Douglas Griffin. While searching for him, authorities found a trail of half-eaten and gutted bunnies, with many hanging from what was then called Fairfax Station Bridge. For months, the police searched for Griffin, but he was never found. Then on one Halloween night, several teens were hanging out under the bridge. At the stroke of midnight, they were attacked. The next morning, they were found hanging from the bridge, gutted like the bunnies. To this day, it's said that if you are at Bunny Man Bridge at midnight on Halloween night, you too will meet the fate of those teens and the rabbits. To my understanding, there are many different variations of the Bunny Man, and the first time I read it, it went along the lines of escaped convicts running through the forest and a couple of officers searching for them. And they came across a string of rabbit corpses hung from trees along the way. They ended up getting over by a bridge that had a train track going above it. And when they got there, one of the escaped convicts from the asylum was hung upside down and gutted, just like those rabbits they'd seen. And the other missing patient had reportedly been convicted for murder on Easter. That's going to do it for today, guys. Make sure that you subscribe, hit that like button with the Bunny Man's hatchet, and leave a comment down below if you have an urban legend or creepy story that you want me to talk about next time I post. And until then, keep digging.